trust Sam Darnold to have a clean game?
No, I don't trust Sam Darnold to have a clean game. I think that he's going to have an opportunity. I hope he does, because I love his story. But I do think that New England brings a lot of different looks, a lot of different packages, game plan specific things. They're going to do a good job of disguising, and they're going to force him to make post-snap decisions. So it's going to come down to how well he can assess what they actually are in after the snap, and that creates great opportunities for him, because there's going to be times where guys aren't in the exact spot they need to be, and if he can take advantage of it, there's chances for big plays. But there's also chances for New England to generate huge plays, either with strip sacks, interceptions, all those things that come with forcing a quarterback to make post-snap decisions.
Yeah, look, I think he can play a game where he doesn't throw an interception. But like you said, you saw the turnovers. It was 20, I think 14 interceptions and 6 fumbles. So I think a key is the pass rush. So if he's fairly comfortable, then I think he can play a clean game. But if they can get enough of a rush, and they've been great in the postseason with the pass rush, if they can pressure him and get him uncomfortable, then either an interception or 2 or a fumble should be on the table for him. But the interceptions, I do think he can be clean in there, because if you look at, he had 14 interceptions, as I said. 6 of them were against the Rams.
In 2 games.
And 2 games. So if you take out those 2 regular season games against the Rams, in his 17 games this year, the other 17, he's only had 8 interceptions. And so I think that he can play a clean game if they give him a little protection. The key is the fumbling, though. I'm worried about.
I hate but respect the Seahawks' difficulty with the Rams. It just makes it very difficult. Like, just take out these Rams games, and Sam Darnold's better, and the defense is way better. It's interesting that they've had such a problem with the Rams.
Well, except, I mean,
there's a prolific quarterback they're facing, and the defense.
Yeah,
you know, I get it,
but
but
they
that
did go
doesn't
2-1 against them.
Yeah.
They had a ton of trouble, statistical trouble with them. And listen, they only lost 3 times all year. One of them was to the Rams, and they could have gone 0-3 against them.
Yeah.
You know, they could have. In theory, could have gone 3-0 against them. But yeah, the Rams, and there is less of a if Matt Stafford did it against the Seattle defense, why can't Drake May? That less of that applies to the Rams defense and the Pats defense. Like because the Pats defense is better than the Rams defense. Why did they? You're definitely gonna hate my answer to this, and you might hate my answer to this.
Me and Coach are in lockstep, so I'm gonna whatever Coach says, I agree.
Despite the fact that Darnold's thrown like his last 100 passes or something without throwing a pick, somewhere around there.
Your last 3 games.
Yeah, 107.
Oh no, I swear, I just didn't.
3 straight games.
I didn't cheat off your paper, buddy.
How'd you even know it was on my paper?
You just asked me if I cheated off your paper.
Good question.
I don't trust him to have a clean game. I don't trust Drake to have a clean game. And I don't think it necessarily matters, because there are only 2 teams in the league all year who are totally equipped and totally used to winning games when their quarterback turns it over multiple times. And they are the 2 teams playing in this game.
Yeah, and we just typically do not see clean games in Super Bowls. We just don't. Whether you're Patrick Mahomes, whether you're Jalen Hurts, whether you're Matthew Stafford, whether you're Joe B, like all these quarterbacks are typically not having clean games. It just doesn't really happen. It's just not the most common occurrence these days. And so the question to me is not trust Sam to have a clean game. It's trust Sam to have a quality game. And it is interesting because Sam played an unbelievable game in the NFC Championship game. Unbelievable. Awesome. Fantastic. Live streamed that game. Have been praising and defending Sam all season long. He played unbelievable, awesome. He had a moment where he made a throw that could have had absolutely devastating consequences. I don't remember exactly, but I remember the feeling because I was like, oh my gosh, no. Like, laughter. What just happened? And it was a throw that could have absolutely changed the game. I mean, it was a pick 6 written all over it. And it was like, oh no, what did you just do? And it didn't happen. And that's football, man. Like, that's Matthew Stafford had a couple balls that could have been picked but weren't. You know, especially against the Bears the week before that. So, like, to me, it's all a matter of do you suffer the consequences of those plays? This is why turnover-worthy plays are one of my favorite stats, because it really highlights how much you're putting the ball in harm's way. strictly passing. Like, that's what that stat is. It's strictly passing. It's not, are you holding on to the ball too long? Did you get strip sacked or something? Like, it's just strictly, are you putting the ball in harm's way? And, sometimes you're not putting the ball in harm's way, but it still leads to an interception. Sam has been on the receiving end of a couple of those where it was just an unbelievable play by the defense. And I don't really blame Sam in that moment. But then there's also plenty of times that Sam absolutely should have been intercepted and it just wasn't right. It was just dropped or, whatever it may be. And so you got to kind of have to figure out how much that balances. Now, I think because of Sam's reputation and the hyper focus on him and having a game where he does have 4 interceptions, every time he puts the ball in harm's way, there is a hyper focus of like, oh boy, that could have been bad, or, like, oh, he got lucky there. And so it is interesting. There's certain quarterbacks that I really zoom in on those types of moments in a game. Baker being one of them, Sam being one of them, Momes being one of them. It's just, there's just like an extra, I don't want to say incentive because there's no incentive there, but it's just on my radar when I watch certain quarterbacks that I really look for. And to be fair, I do it for all quarterbacks to a degree, but it hits harder. If I see Patrick Mahomes make a throw and it clearly should have been intercepted, but it just goes off the hands of a defensive player, like that really lands for me. Like I feel it to my core. But anytime I'm watching games, I'm always taking notes with like a Drake May, for instance, because he doesn't really do it maybe as much from my vantage point. When he does throw a ball that should have maybe been intercepted, but it wasn't, it rolls off a lot easier from my perspective. And it's funny because it makes sense because Baker Mayfield is top in the NFL in turnover-worthy plays. Patrick Mahomes is 6th, and he didn't even play the full season, right? If he played the full season, he would have been, at that rate, would have been 23-24. Like, he would have been higher than that. He could have maybe even surpassed Baker Mayfield, to be honest with you. Whereas, Sam was at 19, makes sense there. Drake May is at 17. And this is where these numbers can get kind of tough because you kind of have to look at the general meat of where the average is if we're looking at a bell-shaped curve here. And it just quick glance is, seems to me that the bulk of this is going to be between 14 and 18 or so. And then once you get up to, 20, 21, 22, like now you're pushing it on the other side. And we can see Baker to a Geno like that. That makes sense. Trevor, you can see that. But also, you also got to look at the percentage. Because if you're throwing the ball 10,000 times a season, you're going to have a lot more turnover-worthy plays. So, honestly, to be fair, the percentage is probably more important. And you can see Drake May is only 2.7, Sam Darnold 3.4. But then again, a 2 of 5.4. So, there's no master line that we get to draw with some of these types of plays, throws, clean games or not. It's not like a passer rating where people are like, I want the passer rating to be 100 or higher. I want the completion percentage to be 64% or higher. I don't think we have that really locked. Once upon a time, it was like never throw an interception, and now, it's like, nah, interceptions aren't so bad. If you're throwing touchdowns, it balances out. Colin used to be anti-interceptions, now he's pro-interception. So, and I'm not going to act like I have a great frame of reference. I definitely earn more on just don't turn the ball over, but I totally admit that could be a dated way of looking at things. It's just turning the ball over just crushes my soul a little bit every time I'm watching a game. And I think that there's a positive, a team needs a moment or that they have a lot of momentum. Like I get crushed by interceptions and turnovers. I'm like, it's just rooted also in being a kid when you're watching the game and you're excited that your team has the ball and they're on offense and then they give up the ball. And it also comes from a place of playing where if I turn the ball over, I'm like, I turned the ball over, I did that. And it hurts my soul. So any turnover is always kind of like, oh gosh, come on, what are you doing? So that's why turnover-worthy play is especially kind of hit for me. And And so there is no trust that Sam to have a clean game, because it also depends on what game Sam needs to have, right? If the game is completely in control, I trust Sam to have a clean game like he showed us against, say, the 49ers. I guess I either games really, but especially that first game when things were not the first game, the game at the end of the season before the playoffs, where he needed to have a clean game, because if he didn't, that would be the difference between winning and losing, whereas he didn't need to have a clean game in the playoffs because they were dominating them. And so it depends on the structure and the flow of this game. And I think what Nick kind of said earlier is fair, where it's like, pretty much both quarterbacks are on the table to get a little slipping and sliding in either direction. And that is what we've seen. That is absolutely what we've seen over these years. And I'm so fascinated to see how both coaches on both sides of the ball for the Patriots and the Seahawks, Josh McDaniels, Clint Kubiak, like what type of leash do they have on these quarterbacks? Like what type of limits? Like what are they looking to do? Are they, sometimes the game plan is just like let it rip. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles last year in the opening drive had Jalen Hurts on 4th down. They were like at the 50, throwing like a 40-yard, dropping the bucket pass to A.J. Brown. I mean, like that's, to me, like that's crazy, because if he doesn't throw a perfect ball, it ended up getting called back. But it needed to happen because there was, they called like a bad penalty. But like if he doesn't throw a good ball, then they decline the penalty, and now the Chiefs get the ball at like the 48-yard line, whatever it ended up being, which completely can change everything. That completely can change everything. And so it's like you're thinking opening drive, your throw, sure, you want to go for it on 4th down. That's fine. But like that throw, like what? So like that's what these coaches do, man. Like sometimes the mentality is just like, we're just letting it rip, man. We're just letting it rip. And I don't know. I'm not gonna try to pretend like I have any reference point as to what Clint Kubiak and Josh McDaniels are going to look to do, because that also to me looks at has a big influence on how clean or unclean of a game you're going to have in that moment of time. But both these quarterbacks like to try their best to be off script a little bit, and I think when Sam Darnold is rushed and sped up, then the mistakes can happen. But then that is also up to Clint Kubiak to manage that as well, which I think he's done a significantly better job doing with Sam than, say, the Minnesota Vikings did last year with Kevin O'Connell. But with Drake May being the type of quarterback that he is, in terms of him having a clean game, it's more like, will he get stripped, right? And that's just like a little bit different of a problem. I don't think you necessarily force Drake May into these concrete mistakes that, say, Sam has been kind of open to. But I also do think it's a good observation that so many of the interceptions came in a concentrated dose against the Rams. And a couple of those interceptions were just beautiful plays. They were just beautiful play calls, beautiful defensive schemes. Great plays by the players themselves, and it's just, to me, those are just handshake moments. Tip your hat. Yep. Great. You won that battle, rather than Sam just not being clean in that moment. So, but yeah, the Patriots have an awesome defense, and they are absolutely have the ability to disrupt Sam and make him uncomfortable. Which is why I then put a lot back on Clint Kubiak. So I'm excited. We are so close to this game. It's going to get good. I'm pumped, and it's going to be fun. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Seattle Seahawks, Sam Darnold? Do you trust that he will have a clean game? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get some discussions, let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.